Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. Disney's Destination D23 just passed, and we didn't get anything public for the Mandalorian and Grogu. They did show a trailer to those in attendance, and it was the same one from Celebration. And now my friends, some HD stills have been making the rounds. They're courtesy of a Star Wars fan who upscaled them, so we have a much better look at them, they're HD, and even though they've got that kind of AI look to them, they're not fake, they're real. Now we're going to go through them in just a moment, but first I want to talk about how the fandom feels about this film. I've always said it was a bad idea having it be the first Star Wars movie since The Rise of Skywalker. They should have opened with Sean Levy's movie, so Starfighter in 2026 and The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2027. I say this because when the Starfighter announcement came out a couple of days ago, fans were ecstatic. But now that these stills are making the rounds, I've been seeing a lot of apathy and negativity. And as someone who is looking forward to the film and is more positive, I don't blame those fans. The reality is we just had Andor Season 2, where fans were celebrating the more serious tone of Star Wars. And for those who felt disappointed by Mando's third season, this was a welcome change. And so that's why you see opinions like this. Andor really was the last serious venture into this franchise. Star Wars will never grow up, because most of the people working on it never did. All they can do is perpetually recycle what's been done before. The cameo of the week type of thing, the rumoured characters who are going to feature in this one, and also how the Star Wars audience has changed. And I know Star Wars fans talk about seriousness and tone, but I don't think that was ever the problem. It's more a question of quality, whether it's serious like Andor, or light-hearted like Skeleton Crew. We know they can do both really well, but there have also been some incredible misses. And so when I see comments like this, I feel like the real frustration is that if they can give us something on the level of Andor, why can't all new Star Wars be of that quality, whether it's serious or not? It's a question of being fed up with a repetitious formula, perpetuated by the likes of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So when fans saw what Tony Gilroy could do, or the other day with the Starfighter news, new cinematographers, new producers, you can understand why a lot of Star Wars fans want to move beyond what the 2020s have given us so far, which has centered around Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's Mandoverse. But the biggest problem is they're not moving it forward. This person says, or maybe this is what they think fans want. We've always clamoured for Star Wars to grow up. Andor was a perfect example. We said that after Andor, everything else will be mid. Will Star Wars survive another 50 years giving us the same old, same old? Well, again, it comes down to comparing apples to oranges. The problem with the movie I find from things I've heard isn't that it's jovial, it's that it's not moving the Mandoverse forward. You'd expect the first Mando project on the big screen to be super important, but from what I've heard, it's just a movie version of a couple of side missions, just like the TV show. If there's any criticism, it should be that. Too early to tell, none of us have seen the movie, but we're going off the Celebration trailer, things we've heard, rumours, but if they're going for a Skeleton Crew vibe, that to me is not the problem. Star Wars can be a plethora of different genres. Another criticism I see is that they're really appealing to fans who love the cameos and the fanservice-y stuff, bringing in characters from the Clone Wars, from Rebels, but like I said when Rotter the Hutt was announced, why forecast such a big surprise? He was in the trailer which was shown at Celebration, and I think even that was a mistake. They should have waited for the public trailer, something for us fans to get excited about, to speculate over, and yet, we've already done all of that over a year ago. The cat is out of the bag. I'm not talking about the general audience, but if you're a diehard Star Wars fan who keeps up with all of the latest news, then you already know about this, and it's no longer an exciting feat. So I think they should have waited, and it wasn't just a rumour, it was announced a long time ago by the official trades. So let's take a look at the new HD stills, and we'll begin with the Hutt. We have to begin with Jabba's son Rotter. We saw him in the Clone Wars movie as a baby Huttlet, but now he's all grown up, and voiced by Jeremy Allen White. And if I had to make a prediction, because Mando and Grogu now work with the Delphi Squadron and the New Republic, one of their missions is going to be to capture the Hutt. He's probably still involved with the underworld, there might be some links to the cousins in Book of Boba Fett, but I think Din, Grogu, and as we saw in the trailer even Zeb, are going to be part of that subplot. And there was a rumour going around that Rotter is going to be part of the New Republic by the end of the movie, so he's not going to remain a bad guy. By him joining the Republic, the New Republic, is certainly going to be a change of allegiance compared to his late father, who was killed by someone who is now a leading general in the New Republic. So that might be an interesting bit of poetry. So moving on to our next photo, just like in the third season, we're going to see quite a bit of a Delphi base. I'm hoping we see more Carson Tava, but in these photos, Mando and Grogu are answering to Sigourney Weaver's character, and her name, big spoiler warning if you don't know this, is Colonel Bishop. So for all of the speculation that she might be some kind of warlord, maybe a character from the expanded universe, that is not the case. Her name is a callback to the Alien franchise. Pretty unsurprising considering she was Ellen Ripley. And also guys, just so you don't get your hopes up, Sigourney's role is very brief. Word on the street is that she only has a couple of scenes. We also have some adorable shots of Grogu eating snacks, using the Force to steal them, and there has been some speculation that he's grown. And I think it was Dave Filoni who teased at Celebration that Grogu is going to speak soon. Can you imagine if there's a big reveal at the end of the movie, where Grogu says, "This is the way"? He was trying to say it in season 3, and speaking of Adelphi, and speaking of Dave, as well as being an executive producer, he has a few roles in the movie. I don't think Chopper's going to be in it, so he's not voicing him, but I imagine the voice of Embo, and, in the background of Adelphi base, as Trapper Wolf. So then we have an HD look at Grogu and the Anzellans. Now I'm just going to say this, if you're not a fan of the Anzellans, if you didn't like Babu Frick in The Rise of Skywalker, and I'm not saying he's one of these guys, but same species, if you don't like them, 2026 is going to be a very difficult year for you as a Star Wars fan, because these guys are going to be everywhere. They're going to make Funko Pops, they're going to make plushies, they're going to make figures, they're going to be everywhere in the promotion. These guys, and the BD droids, they brought them onto the stage again on Saturday at Destination D23. As well as Grogu, they're going to be the face of the movie, because they always capitalize on the cute faces. So it's going to be like the BB-8 fad from 2015, or the Porg Mania phase from The Last Jedi, and now it's going to be the Anzellans. So I guess you better get used to them. Okay, so now we come on to my favorite photo. Call back to The Empire Strikes Back, Snowtroopers. I smell a new vintage collection figure with the Mandalorian and Grogu card back. I'm so excited to potentially see Hoth again. There is an ice planet with some AT-ATs. It's not been confirmed if it's Hoth, but I can't wait to see these guys in action. And in the trailer we heard the Death Star alarm, the Imperial alert, and there's something about the white outfit of the Snowtroopers with the red light in the background that to me is just eye candy. They look so cool, as does the AT-AT pilot. Also, my friends, we have this lovely picture of Jon Favreau directing Din Djarin. Is it Brendan Wayne? Is it Lateef Crowder? Is it Pedro Pascal? I think a big question fans want answered is, was Pedro in the outfit? He did some promo work and was on set, but we don't know how much of him we're going to see. Of course, he's still going to do the voice, but are we going to see his face? Is there going to be a scenario where Din Djarin has to remove his helmet? I'm going to say there's a 98% chance. This is the Mandalorian on the big screen. Pedro Pascal is everywhere at the moment. There are people who want more of him, people who want less of him, but regardless, they're talking about him. He's a very familiar name. So in the same way Ryan Gosling is a major reason Starfighter's going to have a big pull, I think there's something similar going on with Pedro Pascal in this movie. Also, considering this movie is quite standalone, there might be a sequel to it. Jon Favreau talked about maybe a Mando trilogy, but because it's going to be very detached, I think from the first 3 seasons, is there going to be some kind of Mando and Book of Boba Fett recap at the start of the film? Is it even going to be relevant? Does the movie already have enough exposition built into it? One of the things I'm most excited about is the Shadow Council, because Johnny Coyne's Warlord is said to be one of the main villains. I recently saw him play a villain in the new version of The Toxic Avenger, and his attitude, his demeanor, his acting was amazing. He appeared briefly in the last season, but I think he's the leading financier of the Remnant. He's responsible for the AT-ATs. I don't know if he's going to come into direct conflict with Din Djarin. There are some people who think he might be a canon version of Warlord Zinj, and if that's true, there are plenty of ways for the movie to surprise us. Someone with his own military aspirations, someone who was known for psychological warfare, raids, sowing chaos, even cruelty, someone who's trying to destabilize the New Republic in a different way to the likes of Gideon, and even Thrawn, and even causing chaos amongst other remnants. And if they do want to do a canon adaptation of him, then maybe Han Solo could come into it. And if you guys remember when it comes to Galaxy's Edge and what they're doing as part of the Mandalorian and Grogu's promotion, we did see the Millennium Falcon being part of the concept art. Now that would be a cameo I'd love to see, although I've heard there is no original trilogy trio in this. No Luke, no Leia, and no Han. And speaking of him, if they don't want to do the deepfake route, Alden Ehrenreich once again says he's up for it, but it has to be the right version, he says. And I understand not everyone's going to see Alden as Han Solo. Recasting the original trilogy trio is always going to be difficult. Harrison Ford is always going to be Han Solo. But Alden acted his arse off. He was amazing in Solo: A Star Wars Story. But with that said, my dear friends, that's pretty much all the news we have for today. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, And if you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.